Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Donors Forum for Northeast Florida. I am Joanne Cohen. I'm the Vice President of Philanthropic Services for the Community Foundation, and it's so nice to see all of you here. To those of you who may not have been to the Donors Forum in the past, we are the convener for the funders of Northeast Florida. So everyone here is a funder in one way or another to help support our community to be the best place for all of us to live. Today, our program, The Broad Impact of the Emerald Trail, is going to be very exciting. It's our first field trip in several years, so I see many of you wore comfortable shoes and comfy clothing, and we will have bottles of water for you to take with on the trip. Our program is designed to deepen your knowledge of the various community benefits that the Emerald Trail will unlock for our community. You will see that this is a great example of cross-sector collaboration. You will have an opportunity to see firsthand the progress and momentum for this exciting program. Just a few housekeeping ideas. We're going to spend about the next hour together hearing from community members directly engaged in this project. We're going to start with Kay Ehas, the CEO of Groundwork Jacksonville, the organization that's leading the Emerald Trail Initiative. She'll take a few questions, and then my colleague, Tom Caron, our Director of Donor Services, will moderate a panel discussion with additional advocates and champions of the work. More about that later. But for now, if I could draw your attention to the screen, I want to give you an aerial view of the Emerald Trail. It's just fabulous. What a great resource we're going to have for our community. So let's get started. A few items that you may not know about Kay Ehas, the CEO of Groundwork Jax. She came to Jacksonville as a volunteer in service to America, a Vista Corps member, where she worked with public housing tenant associations and low-income senior citizen groups. She served on the Riverside Avondale Preservation Board, in fact, serving as president for 3 years, and under her leadership, RAP created the Riverside Arts Market, one of my favorites, and planted more than 1,000 trees along the neighborhoods. She's also served as the Chief Administrative Officer for the Duval County Property Appraiser. Kay herself is a cross-sector human being. Since 2017, when she joined Groundwork Jacksonville, she's been relentless in her pursuit of achieving Jacksonville's 100-year-old dream of an emerald necklace of trails, parks, and creeks that encircle the urban core. Please join me in welcoming Kay Ehas.
So, good morning. Thank you to the Community Foundation for inviting us to participate in this forum, and thank all of you for your philanthropic work in the Jacksonville community. I'm excited to talk to you today about the Emerald Trail Project. I will share a bit about who Groundwork is, how we go about our work, and what we've accomplished so far. I hope it demonstrates the value of the public-private partnership and the importance of completing the project and doing so in the right way. So Groundwork USA is a national enterprise with a network of local organizations that work to transform the natural and built environment in low-resource urban communities. It was founded by the National Park Service and the Environmental Protection Agency in the 1990s to focus on urban parks and green spaces and brownfields. These two federal agencies provide capacity-building funds to Groundwork USA to stand up local trusts. The 22 trusts within the network are independent local nonprofits. Each of the trusts were founded by a local government in partnership with local stakeholders. We are the only trust in Florida. So in Jacksonville in 2013, former Mayor Alvin Brown's administration and the Springfield and Eastside neighborhoods worked together to bring a Groundwork Trust here. The city had struggled for years with cleaning up its urban land and waterways. And you may or may not know that most of the urban core is a designated brownfield area. Central to our mission is engaging communities as our partners in project planning and design and in the greater goal of neighborhood revitalization. Also, every project has additional stakeholders, be it private developers, private property owners, public property owners, or businesses. Without their cooperation, we cannot get the best outcome for the community and the environment. So Groundwork's mission is to literally clean up the ground and water in underserved neighborhoods and transform them into public spaces that everyone can enjoy, providing green infrastructure that makes us more resilient and provides habitat for wildlife. We do this by developing community-based partnerships that empower people, businesses, and organizations to promote healthier places to live. Everyone deserves a green, healthy, and resilient neighborhood. We reach that goal through inclusion, meaningful community engagement, and collaboration. Groundwork raised private funds to develop the Emerald Trail Master Plan, and it was adopted by the City Council in 2019. To develop that master plan, we pulled together a steering committee comprised of neighborhood residents, city staff, business representatives, and urban planning folks. Additionally, neighborhood organizations throughout the urban core were invited to participate in the process. We held a public meeting to share the final draft, and over 300 people attended. We were pretty excited about that. When complete, the Emerald Trail will be 30 miles of contiguous trails and linear parks, and includes the ecological restoration of McCoy's and Hogan's Creeks. As you can see, the Emerald Trail is a major connector, connecting neighborhoods to each other, downtown and the river, and to schools and parks. So Groundwork Jacksonville's geographic area is the 24 square miles that contain Jacksonville's urban neighborhoods. 69% of residents living in the Emerald Trail neighborhoods are low to moderate income, and 30% are living in poverty. 75% are people of color, 70% of which are African American. The blue area you see there are the McCoy's and Hogan's Creek watersheds. So the Emerald Trail is going through neighborhoods where residents haven't had a seat at the decision-making table historically, and there is a lot of distrust. We engage neighborhoods, again, as our planning and design partners. These are their neighborhoods, not ours, and they are the experts on their neighborhood. How do we do this? We do it through visioning sessions, community meetings, and ensuring residents reside on project task forces and steering committees so they can influence the project and participate in the decision-making that affects their neighborhoods. Over time, residents share what their real needs and desires are for their community, and we work to provide the support they need to achieve that. For example, working with residents on the McCoy's Creek project, they expressed a desire to become better leaders, mentors, and environmental stewards. We created a leadership program for youth and adults that was designed with resident input, and it is now in its third year. The success of this project requires an effective working relationship with the city and is a long-term partnership. The Emerald Trail will be a city park. Groundwork and the city will share programming and ongoing maintenance responsibility when it's complete. Our funding agreement with the city is to split trail design costs equally, and the city pays construction costs. Groundwork funds the preliminary creek design plans and works to secure final design funding and construction grants. Groundwork's role is to oversee trail and creek design and ensure all affected parties are at the table: residents, developers, public agencies, and to be the consistent, getting us to the finish line leader of the project, ensuring the integrity and beauty of the Emerald Trail. So let's talk about what this partnership has accomplished over the last 3 years. So McCoy's Creek was Groundwork's first design project, started in the summer of 2018. The creek has been the city's #1 flooding concern for decades. All of the neighborhood's recreational amenities were removed and replaced with retention ponds. That did not solve the flooding problem. Groundwork hired an engineering design firm, privately funded, who are experts in Florida creeks and channel design. The city was represented on our selection committee, as was the riverkeeper. The design reduces flooding, improves water quality, creates habitat for fish and wildlife, and creates access and recreation for people. The city planned the project in phases, and one phase is now under construction. A second will be under construction by the end of this year. Groundwork is responsible for securing construction dollars for the final phase. We fully designed that phase, and we'll be applying for federal and state grants later this year to get that done. We think the overall project will be completed by the end of 2024. Trail segment #1 is under construction. You'll see that on the tour, and will be completed by this fall. These photos are of Florida Dwight Park that the City Parks Department is improving because the Emerald Trail is going through it. It's getting a new playground. It already has a new basketball court. One of our goals, shared goals with the city, is to make every park the trail connects to a great park. Trail segment number 1 is a direct result of resident input. Durkeeville and Newtown residents on the steering committee wanted a direct connection to downtown. Trail segment number 2 is under design. You'll be seeing that as well, which will be completed before the end of this year and under construction in the spring of 2023. We pulled together a steering committee of Hogan Street property owners to guide this design. Property owners are investing over $200 million in historic building renovations and new structures along this corridor comprised of retail, restaurants, and apartments. There have been so many plans and designs to improve Hogan's Creek over the years. The latest was by the Army Corps in 2011, and it pulled out because of contamination concerns. Groundwork secured a grant matched by private dollars to complete the preliminary design for this project. Otherwise, this project would not be underway today. We will be submitting a $6 million grant request to complete the design. The city is budgeting funds for land acquisition, and we expect it to be a 2.5-year design project. Again, our approach is an ecological restoration. It's a more complicated project than McCoy's Creek because it is incredibly constrained by development and roads. These photos are of Springfield Park today on the left and what it will look like when the design is implemented. So with $4 million in contributions, Groundwork Jacksonville leveraged $85 million in public funding so far. We now have federal partners supporting our work with direct funding and by sharing our story. These agencies are impressed with how we work with affected communities, and at their request, Groundwork Jacksonville has made numerous presentations to their internal staff. NOAA also told us that Groundwork Jacksonville directly influenced its new grant criteria, and NOAA leadership is currently discussing how it might fund Groundwork USA directly. The National Park Service spent 3 days with us last month to see and learn about our work, and they are now looking at how they might fund our community engagement work. Groundwork Jacksonville is featured in the Southeast Region EPA Equitable Development Brochure for our work in the McCoy's Creek neighborhoods. We received a significant grant from the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity to create a watershed plan for the McCoy's and Hogan's Creek watersheds. We'll be working with 10 urban neighborhoods to develop that plan. The FDEP secretary will be in Jacksonville next month and has asked for a tour of our projects. We'll be applying for a McCoy's Creek construction grant this summer with the FDEP. So Groundwork's relationship with these funders also led to the city securing $6 million in construction grants for McCoy's Creek. Groundwork USA often showcases Jacksonville's work as best practice. This fall, Groundwork USA is bringing its national conference to Jacksonville. Our work with neighborhoods goes beyond trail and creek design. Groundwork's vision, along with LISC Jacksonville, our major partner in our community building work, is to create a system that cultivates neighborhood diversity and inclusion, where generational wealth creation through home ownership is achieved and preserved, cultural history is celebrated, and where African Americans and people of color benefit from the comprehensive infrastructure investments. The DuPont Fund hired Groundwork Jacksonville to conduct community engagement for its Riverfront Activation Plan because of our relationships with urban neighborhoods and because we do it differently. The critical point is that Jacksonville has an organization totally dedicated to the Emerald Trail Project. We believe that the Emerald Trail must be world-class and nationally renowned when complete. Jacksonville deserves a fabulous transformational amenity. And that is why design matters, and ensuring it gets built as designed is imperative. We believe it has to be a community project driven by the community. That is how we ensure it gets built as a world-class community. Private investment tells our elected officials that this project is important. And the reason the project will get $132 million in gas tax dollars is because of community support. Groundwork's entrepreneurial and solutions-oriented approach and our flexibility as a private organization keeps the project moving. Groundwork's commitment to community engagement and equity brings diverse voices to the conversation. Transparency engenders trust with the community, our public partners, the media, and our funders. There are 5 more trail segments that must be designed and constructed to complete the 30-mile Emerald Trail. These segments are partially funded by the gas tax dollars that are going to JTA, and therefore JTA will become a project partner. Our current projections, Based on the construction cost of segment 1 and the projected cost of segment 2, adding escalation and contingency factors over the next 6 years is $212 million to get the project completed. The gas tax allocation is $132 million, leaving an $80 million funding gap. Groundwork Jacksonville, the city, and JTA are exploring funding options to fill the gap. We believe private funding remains essential to the project. As we've researched other major trail cities, we see a mix of funding sources is important, but in every case, private dollars plays a significant role. Private funders contributed 13% in New York, or $20 million. Atlanta's nonprofit partner is providing $100 million of the $350 million needed to complete their trail system. More than half of the funding in Indianapolis came from private donors. I hope you saw from the video that the Emerald Trail will have a significant impact on overall quality of life for the neighborhoods adjacent to the trail and provide a great amenity for all Jacksonville residents and visitors. It's going to have a huge economic impact. The Atlanta Beltline has a 10-to-1 return on investment. And even before 1 new mile is built in Jacksonville, developers have acquired vacant and underutilized commercial properties because the trail is coming. Studies show how trails improve home values on average of 6%. Every dollar spent on trails reduces direct medical costs by almost $3. What I personally love the most about this project is how it connects people, both to each other and to the outdoors. Our urban neighborhoods are rich in history and architecture. The Emerald Trail will bring folks into areas of Jacksonville they've never seen before. It has the potential to mix people from different races and economic backgrounds like never before. And it has the potential to increase racial equity, revitalize neighborhoods, and provide economic growth for all community members. Thank you. Tom is telling me I'm allowed to take 3 questions.
Talk about the role that affordable housing will have in the impact of wealth creation and the connection to the Emerald Trail. You know, and many may not know, that the City of Jacksonville is about to launch the Jacksonville Community Land Trust. We're very excited about the opportunity. We've been working with Community Foundation staff on concepts and designs, and I think the connection and the partnership between the two is a really fabulous opportunity.
Absolutely. So the trails will bring so many benefits, but our biggest challenge is to maintain affordable housing. Because you know, as things improve, typically what happens is gentrification. If you look at the Brooklyn neighborhood, historically African-American neighborhood, it's now 98% white. That is the opposite of Groundwork Jacksonville's mission. And so in North Riverside, for example, which is the western neighborhood along McCoy's Creek, 60% of the single-family homes are rental properties. That's what makes them vulnerable to displacement. And so we have, well, I'm not going to take Padrika's thunder because she's going to talk about that. But maintaining affordable housing is going to be critically important. There is enough vacant land and abandoned structures out there to bring in economic diversity to stabilize a neighborhood without displacement. But it's going to take all of us to develop that strategy. Groundwork, neighborhoods, the city, community, everyone needs to help with that. And to me, the key is you must focus attention on a neighborhood. It must get enough money and attention to really make it happen.
Got 2 questions, and thank you for what you've done. It's extraordinary. What is the timeline and the magnitude that money solves a problem for you that is rational for this group? And then secondly, what's your biggest challenge that money is not going to solve?
So the McCoy's and Hogan's Creek projects, once we get design money, the city is budgeting in its capital improvement project to construct those projects. And we'll help them with that lift, right, ourselves with our grant, our federal funding and state partners. On the trail, everything that I've showed you so far, we have funding to get done. either through the city and through Groundwork. The next 5 trail segments are the challenge. Again, the gas tax is not enough, and it pays out over 30 years. We do not see this as a 30-year project. We see it as a 6-year project. From now, 6 more years, we want to be done. That's our goal. And so we have to figure out the gap and then also figure out how we accelerate the money. Do we think what private donations have allowed us to do is to lead the project? Trust me when I say that a private organization leading this project will have a better outcome than government leading the project alone. So that's what bringing private dollars to the table has allowed us to do, along with developing relationships and trust and all that sort of thing. So I think one challenge is that we continue to be able to do that under this new partnership with the gas tax. Engaging all of the communities along the trail, these 14 different neighborhoods. Our goal is that, for example, pulling together 10 neighborhoods to do that watershed plan, to me, is really exciting that they get to know each other, they get to understand what each other's problems are, they become stronger by working together. So I think that standing up neighborhoods so that they're leading their neighborhood in even better ways than they're doing now, and convincing the Jacksonville community that we all play a role in creating more equitable neighborhoods. Maybe that's the biggest challenge, that we all have to be rowing in the same direction.
Again, thank you, Kay. I think what you all were able to see, I've had the pleasure of working with Kay over the last few months putting this event together and getting to see Kay advocate for communities, continue to advocate for what's best in the city, and navigate a very large budget that is very complex, but doing it with everyone in mind is not an easy feat. So I want to thank you personally for the work that you're doing to make our entire community a better place. Thank you, Kay. So in addition to having Kay's voice, which was critical, we also wanted to lift up a few community voices who have been involved with this project in a variety of ways. So I'm going to invite up 4 of our community members who are going to serve on the panel, Ms. Padrica Mendez, Dr. Nipa Shah, Enes Davis, and David Miller, if you don't mind coming and having a seat behind me. And I'm also going to speak to the Wizard of Oz to get one more mic up here, so please excuse me.
I am the Vice President of the American Planning Association's Florida chapter, in charge of membership and outreach throughout the state. I'm also a board member of the Florida Trust for Historic Preservation. So as an urban planner, as a Black urban planner who is also a 6th-generation Floridian, projects like this are very important to me because I'll talk more about the concept of with gentrification as opposed to gentrification, but that's just a little bit about me. Thanks. Oh, I'm also Groundwork Jacksonville board member.
There we go.
Good morning. I'm Dr. Nipa Shah. I'm the chair of the Community Health and Family Medicine Department at the University of Florida here in Jacksonville. Go Gators. There's a few. And I welcome this opportunity. I am representing the University of Florida, which is comprised of many, many people who are just so dedicated to this community. So thank you for having me.
I'm David Miller. I'm the co-founder of Brightway Insurance. I am, along with Brian Wolfberg, one of the 2 trail champions for the Emerald Trail. Been involved in, coordinating other business leaders and community leaders to leverage our public dollars to actually get the trail done. And I think there was one really good question. What's one of the non-financial challenges we have? And I think it's one of the places Groundwork is uniquely positioned, is really galvanizing community support around the trail. And so it's something that as you see this and you see what we're doing and you understand how impactful this is going to be for the community, not just what we're doing, but how we're doing it, that's where we're going to play a big role. And every one of us can do that.
Good morning. My name is Federica Mendez. I am a member of the North Riverside Community Development Corporation. I'm a board member, and also I've had the honor of being the chairperson of our Visioning Steering Committee, and also the subcommittee, which is our housing subcommittee. And I'm playing hooky today because I'm also a teacher, and I'm, of course, playing hooky because I'm really, really dedicated and just very enthusiastic about this trail project and the fact that my neighborhood gets to have a voice.
So I've asked each of our speakers, now that you have an opportunity to get to know them, to speak to one question each for about 3 to 5 minutes, each focusing on a different component of the trail. So we're going to start with Ehas. Through a series of historical policies and practices, notably the practice of redlining and then the highway construction, thriving communities of color were divided and disrupted and displaced. To what extent does the Emerald Trail address that history, and how will communities of color and all other communities also benefit from the Emerald Trail?
All right, so that's a very complex question because I've already heard conversations about gentrification. I also saw in the video promotion of the Beltline. Well, if you're familiar with the land in the Beltline, it's gentrified a lot of those neighborhoods. So in coming back to that question, the construction of the highway system, redlining, our actual zoning code, which we were the first city in the state of Florida to have one, all those were intentionally discriminatory in how they came about during the Jim Crow segregation era. So when we talk about a piece of infrastructure like the trail system, it also has to be intentional to reverse a lot of the decisions that were intentionally made to create these areas of heavy poverty or where residents have not been traditionally had a seat at the decision-making table. So as Shirley Chisholm once said, if you don't have a seat at the table, you bring your own. The Emerald Trail and what Groundwork Jax is actually doing is a form of that. In addition to create the economic development that we always say we want to see in neighborhoods that have struggled to have economic development, you have to have infrastructure investment. If you look at the history of these neighborhoods, infrastructure has always been invested at the benefit of a different neighborhood at the expense of these places. So the trail system is a way to reverse some of that. But with that being said, I also would like to say the trail is just a piece of infrastructure. So there are other policies and protocols that also must be put in place to ensure that a neighborhood actually economically benefits, that the people within that neighborhood are part of that future vision that can economically prosper. So I heard there was a question about affordable housing. That is something that has to be done in conjunction with preservation in the construction of the trail system. In addition, the zoning policy needs to be looked at and reconsidered in a lot of these places. If preservation, cultural heritage, and preservation of historic building stock is a concern, we need to be out doing things now to put policies into place to protect that. Because as I think Kay mentioned, developers are already in these areas buying up properties. And right now if you don't understand that cultural history, if you don't understand the heritage and the importance, significance of a site, that's a site that can be gone tomorrow because we don't have policies in place to protect that. So again, the trail system itself, you definitely need the infrastructure to come in to create an economic opportunity to various neighborhoods. That infrastructure is also a place that gives equitable access throughout the community. And it also sets a motion for where You may have an option where you don't have to buy a car to get to work on the other side of town. Why can't those jobs be within that each individual neighborhood? And why can't we have an environment, which we once did years ago, where you could actually live out all aspects of your life within a single area and walk, bike, and have multiple options to get around as well?
They have the unenviable task of taking a large question and trying to distill it to 3 minutes, so thank you, thank you. David, the next question is going to be for you. As a business leader, how do you think the Emerald Trail will contribute to the value proposition of our city as a retention for business and an attraction for new businesses?
Well, what we're seeing now, it's, for years and years, the Chamber has said we need to attract businesses to bring jobs and that sort of thing. And what we're seeing, and we've seen it really, the pandemic has changed that paradigm, where now we need to think about quality of life and being a place that workers want to be, because they can work in different places. And so when you attract workers, businesses want to come. So with that paradigm shifting, it really is, the timing is perfect for us in Jacksonville to realize its true identity around what are our unfair advantages. You know, we have an amazing climate. We have the ocean, we have the river, we have the intercoastal, we have a tremendous number of parks. Many are not really developed and they're not activated. We have the riverfront that is suboptimal in that it is not activated. Growing up, I remember that people would say, you know, they're not making any more riverfront, or they're not making any more oceanfront, meaning this is desirable and is valuable. And so when you look at it, what is that? It's an amenity. It's an amenity that people want to develop around, they want to live around. What we're doing here by creating this Emerald Trail, we're actually creating a new amenity, a whole new amenity that is going to be a source for not just the big shiny object type development that you know, if you lived in Jacksonville, we always go for, but the kind of development that is going to really involve a lot of our local developers, a lot of local entrepreneurs. It's over 30 miles, so by nature, it can't be one big development. What we're looking to do is create an opportunity that individuals and businesses will be able to invest and provide a community type experience. It's not just about attracting people from the outside to our inner core. It's about building community. And Kay spoke about that, but that's what this is. We have these wonderful thriving communities all around downtown. We have San Marco, we have Brooklyn, Riverside, Avondale, and Springfield. But the urban core is sort of, you know, inside what we call downtown is that missing link. And the idea is you raise all of these levels through connections and through connectivity. And this is going to provide that.
Thanks, David. I'm glad you put Springfield in there because I was about to rib you for it. As a proud Springfield resident, we are a thriving neighborhood just north of downtown. I'm going to have Dr. Shaw and then Ms. Padrica. So Dr. Shaw, from a community health perspective, how do you see the Emerald Trail impacting our community, and what health outcomes do you hope to see have a positive impact?
No, it's all right. Thank you. So let me ask you all this. How many of you went for a walk this morning? Wow, very good number, very good number. So did you know that you probably lost a little bit of weight, lost a little calories there? I think that's pretty obvious. But your heart rate, your average resting heart rate improved by you walking, okay? Your HDL cholesterol increased, that's the good cholesterol. If you were pregnant, your chances of preterm birth decreased. If you were diabetic, your glucose levels improved. And if you had an autoimmune disorder or some kind of an inflammatory condition, your cortisol level actually improved just from exposure to green space. And all of these factors and more have been studied. So when you are donating to the Emerald Trail, you're actually improving people's health. So I hope you feel good about that. Weight loss, exercise, very important. But I thought I would share with you a few other benefits of green space and outdoor exposure that you may not have thought about. How many of you have children, grandchildren? Where are they? Where's their eyes all day long? Right there in front of the screen or their computer. Or if you work and you have a job and you're in front of the computer. When you're outdoors, your vision improves. You have you're less likely to get myopia and wear glasses because you are focusing far away. So that's been studied and it's been shown to improve myopic vision. So the other aspect is, how many folks here got a good night's sleep last night? About half, okay. So my patients come to me often with insomnia, and one of the prescriptions is exposure to natural light, because that affects our circadian rhythms. When we're indoors all the time, our brain doesn't adjust to what is natural wake-up time and natural sleep time. So you, by donating to the Emerald Trail, are actually going to help people and yourself sleep better. Isn't that fun? Of course, the obvious things are your posture, your joints, right? Walking versus sitting. Humans, really, we were not meant to be sitting for too long. And here we are in our modern world sitting all day long. So when I tell my patients to walk, it's also for their knees, their hips, their joint movements, just to keep them active. That's really important. At the University of Florida, we have a pharmacist training program. We graduate pharmacists and PharmDs, doctorates of pharmacists, and they are very excited and developing a healing garden along this trail, which will have plants and herbs that are commonly used for treatments and medical purposes, and along with some educational opportunities. So we're very excited about that. We have contacted at the University of Florida our graduate students in construction and design, and they're very excited to partner with us here in Jacksonville to build something that is very innovative, and urban planning, is a big part of that as well. So finally, there's one aspect of health that I want to make sure everyone knows about. For those of you who did take a walk this morning, how many others woke up today, wanted to take a walk, and had no place to go for that walk? If we just think about that for a moment, we understand the equity issue here that we will be helping address. And so thank you all for listening, and thank you for your time and donation to this very worthy, healthful activity.
Thank you, Dr. Shaw. I did not walk this morning, but now I will this afternoon. And hopefully that'll reduce my melatonin taken. That was a good tip, too. So we're going to last hear from Teacher of the Year. I just gave her that title. She's very excited about it. And community leader in the Hollybrook neighborhood of McCoy's Creek. So for Padrika, as a resident in Hollybrook, where Emerald Trail will be prominently anchored within the community, can you share a little bit about how you've been involved with the process and what you hope that your community and your neighbors get to experience because of the trail?
I've been involved in the Trail Master Planning Steering Committee. We helped to work on some of the design elements of the trail. Myself, along with several other neighborhoods, CDCs, such as Newtown, Durkeeville, Eastside, Springfield, and Brooklyn, all of those different neighborhoods were involved. All of the urban core neighborhoods were involved. Y'all excuse me, I'm nervous. I admit. It's hard talking in front of adults rather than talking in front of children. So anyway. Another thing, another way that I was involved is I kind of briefly mentioned that I was the chairperson of the North Riverside Steering Committee. Kay and Gloria came to our North Riverside CDC and asked us, what were some of the ways that they could help us better our neighborhood. And so one of the things, we came up with several ideas, and we decided to start a steering committee. And from that steering committee, Groundwork helped us create a vision statement and also a 10-year equity plan. And from that equity plan, We formed several subcommittees, and with our subcommittees, we came up with like housing. We did several things, but anyway, I'm the chairperson of the housing committee. And with the housing committee right now, we're working on trying to get funding to rehab some of the houses. A lot of the residents in the neighborhood are concerned about losing their property. I mean, let's be frank, whenever you start to have you start greening up areas, you start, including new green spaces, the neighborhood starts to change because everybody becomes interested in that neighborhood and wants to, they want to buy. And a lot of times when they are greening up things, people are displaced because of the growth. And my neighbors are really concerned about that. So, Kay has been working diligently trying to help us get grants so that we can improve our houses. We have now, in fact, Kay wrote a grant so that we could secure a case manager and a construction manager. And so hopefully by June of this year, we will start actually helping people to rehab their homes. And my neighborhood is a victim of redlining. It's been, almost impossible to try to get funding, from a reputable bank to do home improvements. So, getting grant money is going to help us tremendously. With little things like, putting roofs on your house, having decent flooring. So those grants will help tremendously. Another thing where we've worked on, Groundworks helped us to partner with LISC. And LISC has helped us with family wealth creation. We were able to pay for people's taxes, help them with the back property taxes. From that, we've also helped people with heir property. We've helped people with writing their wills so that they can pass their property on to their children or other family members. So Groundworks has helped us tremendously. And it hasn't been easy for them because, we've been kind of skeptical. We've had other agencies that come in the past and, they've helped us do an equity plan and, it looks great on paper. But, they didn't really teach us how to have leadership and how to advocate for ourselves. And that's one of the things that I really like about Groundworks. They didn't just help us create this wonderful plan on paper. They've been down in the trenches with us, actually helping us to bring that plan to fruition. Some of the other things that we talked about, and we have committees formed now, economic opportunities. People in my neighborhood are really concerned about you having all these trails come and you're going to eventually have all the businesses are going to come, but will we be a part of that plan? Are we going to have economic opportunities if we want to pursue entrepreneurship or open our own businesses or whatever? Also, history and culture. That's one of our other committees. The history and culture of the community we want to make sure that it's upheld and celebrated, that we're reflected in that trail. And then environmental stewardship. Groundworks has formed a wonderful organization that I volunteer with them. It's called CREST. And the acronyms stand for Community Restoration Environmental Stewardship. And with CREST, I think it's youth from about the age of 8 to about 17. So we're now teaching the children in the community to become environmental stewards. They get to go on field trips. They get to do water sampling. They get to do, they're teaching them about air quality. And so they really become very involved in the environment. They've invited in all types of experts on, bird watching, and, so they get to do a lot of wonderful things. And then one of the things we've also started was a community garden. We're pretty much in a food desert in my neighborhood, especially for an elderly person, which most of the neighbors in my neighborhood are 55 and up. And if you don't have a car, the closest grocery store is over a mile. And there is no direct bus that takes you to any of the grocery stores that are close to us in proximity. So, of course, just imagine being an elderly person if you don't have a car trying to walk a mile. Or trying to get somebody to take you to the store just so you can, do your grocery shopping or catch 2 buses or whatever the case may be. So we started a community garden. Groundworks has done an excellent job. They brought in experts to help us learn gardening, and we have all kind of things growing, greens and carrots and what have you. So it's really, it's been a very excellent learning experience for myself, and also I think a lot of the other residents would agree. And we've also had a lot of input. I like the fact that Groundworks has made sure that every step of the way we've had input in the design. There are also some other members of my board that sit on the McCoy's Creek Task Force, so they've had input as well. And so that's pretty much it. I'm just excited and looking forward to this trail and actually getting out there and being a part of it. Thank you.
Thank you. So one of the things that I hope you take away is not just the incredible, the idea that we're going to have a connected system, but that along the way, multiple community members are being involved in the influence and the design of the trail. So they're able to talk about the amenities they would hope to see and bring into their own communities without it being assumed by others. Nationally renowned teams who can do trail design are incredible. You also need that local voice to make magic happen. So the Groundworks team is really doing that to help blend those two. So I'm looking at the clock. I'm also moderating and coordinating the bus trip transportation out front. So we are excited about the field trip. I will open it up for 2 questions, but promise that there will be an outlet for you to process questions. So I'm gonna put my email, maybe. If you can advance the slide, PRI team, please. My email will be up there momentarily there you go. If you have questions, I'm gonna encourage you now and several times, also when you're on the trail, to email me your questions, and the hope is that we will then compile all of the questions, work with our panelists and Groundworks team to then answer those questions, and we will share those out in the form of a Q&A. Because again, we recognize trying to have a very quick conversation and include a field trip would have caused a little bit of compression for time. So are there any questions that you are burning to ask right now? It's okay if there are. Yes, ma'am. Great, so the question was, what has been done to date around flooding issues around the trail? Kay, do you mind if I?
Number one, when you're returning a creek to its natural state, you give it enough room based on its watershed so that it doesn't flood outside the boundaries you've given it. So that involved closing McCoy's Creek Boulevard to be able to do that. And then when we open, so the creek right now is buried under the former Times Union property. Opening that up is key to flood reduction for that creek. The same thing with Hogan's Creek. When we design projects, flood reduction is a key part of that project. We have to do that. And so with Hogan's Creek, there are 2 main impediments to reduce flooding upstream. One is the JEA Waterworks property. The creek is like 20 feet between that, and we want to widen it to 50 to reduce flooding upstream. And we met with JEA, and by the way, I love their new CEO, Jay Stowe. And at the end of that conversation, they said, oh, we've identified this as one of our most vulnerable properties. And I went, it sounds like a win-win to me. And then the Arlington Expressway right now is on the ground at a certain place, so the creek is buried under like 2 different culverts under there. So we need to lift that expressway up, so again, the creek can be opened up and widened under there. Everyone thinks that that's an impossibility, so Groundwork Jacksonville believes all things are possible if you're willing to put in the work. And so we met with the FDOT, and they are going to, within 30 days, show us what they think a design would look like to be able to do that. We, Dawn, are going to figure out how to get them $4.5 million to design it in the next 2.5 years, so it's ready when we're ready with the rest of it.
Okay, you're all like giddy school children excited for the field trip, so I won't belabor the point. All right, so first, thank you, David, Padrika, Ennis, and Dr. Shaw. Thank you. All right, thank you so much for coming. We will see you out front.